everyone, and welcome to the In Conversation series organized by Global Music Institute and the Brazilian Embassy in India. Today, we have with us Luiza and Pedro, and I'm Eshaan, and I have Priyana here with me. We're both alumni from the Global Music Institute. Global Music Institute is a school just right outside New Delhi. It's a music institute set up by musicians for musicians and aims at furthering music pedagogy in India. And yeah, today we're going to talk to Luiza and Pedro about music and Brazilian music and life. I'm going to let Priyana introduce Luiza and Pedro.
All right. Like Ishan said, we have with us today Luiza and Pedro. They're a Brazilian music duo from Rio de Janeiro, and Pedro's primary instrument happens to be keys, and Luiza happens to be a singer, but she also plays guitar and viola and keys, and I don't know how many other things. She's immensely talented, and I happen to know this because I have had the fortune of studying under her and watching her. Luis and Pedro graduated actually out of the same music school in Rio, but they didn't get the chance to collab until much later when both of them came to South India to teach at a music school there. And after that, they both, first actually, I think Luiza came to GMI in fall of 2017, which is when I met her and she became my teacher and completely blew me away. And after that, Pedro happened to join us in the spring of 2018 at GMI. And that's a little bit about them. And I would like them to maybe talk a little bit about their experience here in India and how it was for them, both in South India and when they were at GMI.
Hi, guys. Thank you for the amazing introduction.
Hi, Eshaan. Hi.
We're
Hello.
super, we're super happy to be here because India is actually a big part of our life, and it has changed both our personal lives and our careers, the
Definitely.
experiences we had there. And we're very happy to be, despite the distance and the social isolation thing and all that, we are able to be to feel so close to you. So that's amazing for us. Actually, Pedro was the first one to go to India, right? In
Yeah.
our Asian history.
Yeah, I actually in 2009 I did a tour there. I played there for a whole month between Mumbai, Goa. I also was in Sri Lanka, and 2016 I came back to teach in South India, and I love it, India. Like as you said, it was a life-changing experience to have this chance to be there.
Yeah, because also from this global perspective, we come from a country where music is very appreciated, and there's some data from Spotify that says that Brazilians are the country are the people that listen to their own music the most in the world. Like, we enjoy our own music, and as consumers also. And it's really interesting for us because we went abroad first to study in Europe. I did my master's in Spain, in Berkeley, Valencia, and Pedro went to Portugal to study in Escola Superior de Música de Lisboa. It's a very Portuguese name. And when you are, as a Brazilian in Europe, you are welcomed as a musician. Like, we felt that our music was also very appreciated there, and we had space to perform, and people wanted to hear Brazilian music. And when we went to India, since the music in India is so rich and interesting and completely different from the music we are used to listening, we thought it would be a one-way thing, meaning we would only benefit from the music from India. And we were also, I personally, I was very happy to see the interest of the Indian students in Brazilian music. And I taught electives on Brazilian music, and I suggested Brazilian songs in the ensemble practices in both schools we worked, and the students were amazing at it also. And it also makes me want to stress out that the students in India, the musicians in India, they have this type of musicality that is very similar to of the Brazilian musicians. I think European and North American musicians, they have a different way of feeling the grooves and relating to rhythm. And in
definitely.
India, we felt like the closest to the Brazilian way of relating to that as well. So it was very interesting to see how receptive the students were and how easily they could relate to the Brazilian music, especially from the rhythmic standpoint.
Yes. Well, I can tell a story about this shock that Luiza was talking about, the difference in between. That the first time when I came to India to teach in 2016, I was like full, when I arrived, I was full jet lag, like really tired of the whole traveling. And I was kind of sleepy. And then when I arrived in the school, there was this percussionist that was giving a class. And I decided, okay, before I go to sleep and rest a little bit, I'm just going to watch a little bit of the class. And I was like arriving, I just sat in the back of the class, like the last chair. And I was there like half asleep, half paying attention. And I couldn't fully understand the whole thing that was happening because it was too much information. And then in the middle of the class, the teacher said, I heard that there's a new pianist here, like that came to teach. Hey, Pedro, just come here to the stage. Come join me and let's do a groove together. And I was like, the same moment, like fully awake, like, bah, my eyes went, bah. And I was like, and I just stand up, and he was saying what we were going to play while I was walking to the stage. And we're going to do like a circle of 21/8, and it's a group of 5, a group of 6, then a little bit of 7, then. And I was like, oh man, I've never played something like that. Oh shit, what am I going to do? And I was like going to the stage like really, really worried. And when he started to play, I was like, I started to play with him, like listening really, really careful and trying to fit with what my roots from Brazil, and doing like a completely new groove. And was like my first experience in playing with Brazilian fusion Indian. Was already like a big shock. It was, oh man, there's something really, really new in here to learn from.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
all right. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was just going to say the same thing and ask you about, how you said that you initially came from the idea of, teaching and were probably expecting to kind of give away more than you were going to take. But I think it was equal exposure from both ends, because Brazilian music is also so diverse and so vast. And I think that kind of also goes for Indian and Hindustani music. Are there any other stories or experiences you want to tell us? I mean, you've played a lot of shows here and collaborated with different people, and or maybe even all the shows that you played in Europe and all the different countries. Any interesting anecdotes or stories that you have for us?
For sure. I think the most interesting one was when we played in the Gwalior Music Festival.
Oh yeah, that was
At that time the festival was 93 years old, and we were the first Brazilian musicians to ever perform in that place, in that festival. And we went there with a Russian bass player and an Indian drummer.
Yeah, it was already quite exciting.
It was already a band, a 4-piece band that was we could never imagine.
It was a really, really traditional Indian classical festival.
Yes.
We were completely out of the music range.
The context, it was really interesting. So it was a huge place, and everybody was sitting there listening to classical music, Indian classical music, the whole day. And we came for like a 30-minute performance or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing was that I had to take my shoes off to go on stage, because in the other stages we performed in India, it was more of a urban, contemporary type of vibe. And there it was really the more traditional thing. And I had high heels on, and they were like, no, you have to take your shoes off. And at that moment, it suddenly opened my eyes to a more sacred relation with being on stage. And it was actually amazing for me to not be wearing high heels on stage and have my feet on the ground, you know. And one of the most interesting things that happened that day was that usually in Indian classical music, you have longer pieces, right? The development of the ragas and all that takes some time. Yeah. And we were playing 5 minutes at a time, maybe 3 minutes like for a song. Mm-hmm. And the audience was vibrating when Pedro took a solo, or I did some improvisation in my voice, or I sang a high note or something. And they would cheer and clap in the middle of the song, but they didn't quite feel the endings. So sometimes they wouldn't clap in the end, but after clapping during the song. And we were the whole timing of that concert was odd, was unusual for us. But I felt very proud to go there and represent Brazil.
Yeah, definitely. It was an amazing experience. I remember that day that when we went to the stage and we started playing the first song. And the first song, there was already a voice solo, a voice improvisation in the middle. And right in the beginning of the song, they were clapping a lot because Luiza was going with her voice. And I remember thinking, man, this concert is going to be amazing. Like in the middle of the first song, people are already like that. It's going to be awesome. But when we finished the first song, there was no clapping. Like no one clapped after the song. And I was, oh man, that's so strange. Let's start the second one really quick. So they were clapping only in the middle of the song and not after the song.
Yeah, and that makes you think on the rituals that involve playing music, right? And it's not only that the music itself is different in every culture, but the rituals to attend a concert, there's a whole cultural context that we have to respect and learn to interact with. So I think that's my favorite experience of all.
That does sound very interesting. Actually, even as you know, Eshaan and I, having performed here and there, we've never really performed in a very traditional setting like you're talking about. Like I've never had to take my shoes off or even heard about anybody who had to. So being from a different country and a different culture, I can imagine how interesting that must have been for you. And that's actually that's pretty cool.
That also kind of it's a nice segue into like the kind of music you were playing, like all the repertoire you play also, like, and we both heard you play a bunch of times. So maybe you can like what you were playing your music, right?
Yes, we were playing our original songs.
I think
We
some
also played some,
Brazilian,
yeah, we
some
played some Tom
Brazilian classical.
Jobim
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Edu Lobo, and we also played our stuff.
Did we get a sign or something from this concert? Because I think they
Yeah, I
gave to
think,
us like there's
yeah,
a how do you say plaque?
yeah, I don't like a
A
I
plaque.
don't know.
Yeah.
a
Plaque.
plaque.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
we got one of those.
We,
Yeah, we got some nice things. Yeah, but we were playing our own music, and maybe we should play something now. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
We can start talking about it. This is one of the songs we actually played in that concert.
which one are we starting?
Let's start with Chuva.
Awesome.
It's a song I wrote, and it's based on a Brazilian rhythm called Baião, which is from the Northeast. You already heard about it in
Yes.
the Brazilian elective
Yeah,
we took.
Yes, absolutely.
So we can talk a little bit about it. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Se a noite te roubar o cobertor, não chora, amor. É só o vento. Se a chuva te assustar, ai, por favor, não chora, amor. Se um raio se acender cortando o céu, não chora, amor. Está chovendo, ouve a noite trovejar, apaga a luz, esquece a dor. Abre a janela e deixa o vento te abraçar. Logo o sol vai ressurgir. Espere, a chuva vai lavar toda a tristeza que aqui passou, passou. Se a noite te roubar o cobertor, não chora, amor. É só o vento. Se a chuva te assustar, ai, por favor, não chora, amor. Se um raio se acender cortando o céu, não chora, amor. Está chovendo, ouve a noite trovejar, apaga a luz, esquece a dor. Abre a janela e deixa o vento te abraçar. Logo o sol vai ressurgir. Espere, a chuva vai lavar toda a tristeza que aqui passou, passou.
Yeah.
Wow.
All
That was
right.
amazing, you guys.
We've been playing that
My
for a
God.
long time now.
No, but Luiza, I've been such a huge fan of your songwriting and the way you make songs come together. It's just, I think it's so beautiful. I think every piece I've ever heard from you, I love. I even did a cover of, wait, what is it, Angela? Is that what you call the song? or
Angela,
for the one
yes.
Angela, yeah.
Nice.
So I even
That's
did
so
like
nice.
one of those for my weekly performance, and I mean, yeah, Tanya and I, we kind of did like with two voices, and it's so incredible to hear you and your songs.
Thank you so much.
All right. So can you tell us a bit about, you mentioned that this is based around Baião. So for people who don't know about this form of music, what the characteristics are, how you can identify it, and origins and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. I think the first thing about Baião that it has a characteristic rhythmic pattern. Tum, tum, tchiku, tum, tum, tchiku, tum, tum, tchiku, tchiku, tum, tum, tchiku, tum, tum, tchiku, tum, tum. Pedro, can you do it on the bass of your piano?
This was exactly what I was doing in the intro.
And then you can fill it in with other information, especially in the upbeats. Cha cha. So what Pedro is basically doing on his keyboard is keeping this basic pattern in his left hand and doing a counterpoint with the chords in the right hand.
Filling the gaps.
Yeah. And actually, this is already a very contemporary way of performing it, because originally Baião is from the northeast of Brazil. And the original band that plays it has a accordion, a triangle, and a zabumba that is like a bass drum, but you hold it around your waist. Is not really on the floor, but it's like a low drum that has two sides. And then you do the low note on one side and you do the high notes on the other side. So actually, if you play this in the zabumba, you have a high pitch sound. So it's like tum, tum, tak, tum, tum, tak, tum, tum, tak, tak, tak. So the whole idea of Pedro doing the right hand as a counterpoint to the left hand comes from this instrument, zabumba, because there are the bass notes, the low notes being played on this one side, and the other side is like gets creative and goes for high notes in this counterpoint.
Yeah, in Brazilian music, piano is not a traditional instrument. So most of the things that I play in the piano comes from the percussion instruments. So we kind of adapt those sounds and we bring it to the piano. So exactly what Luiza said. All of this comes from the zabumba instrument. That's exactly what they do, like it's an adaptation that we did through the years.
Yeah. And also something interesting that I actually noticed as we were playing, while we were playing, is that when we go to the B section, you kind of go for a more Ijexá vibe. That is another rhythm. We never talk about it. It just happened. But Ijexá is also another rhythm from the northeast of Brazil. And it has its origins in African Brazilian music. And so when we go to so as we go to the B section, it goes more, it talks more with that groove, right?
Abre a janela e deixa o vento te abraçar. Logo o sol vai ressurgir. Espere, a chuva vai lavar toda a tristeza que aqui bag. Yeah. Cool. And I think something else I would add is that the highs and lows are very important. So it's not cha, 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 cha. It's cha, 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 cha. And also with Bayon, you don't play ta, 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 ta. You play ta, ta, ta. It's really important to have this differentiation.
Yeah, those details are the things that gives the accent, right? That gives the sauce.
The sauce, the spices.
Spices, yeah.
Got it.
Nice.
Cool.
So, like, moving a little beyond Bayon, it's to me and to a lot of other people, one of the first styles of Brazilian music that we get introduced to is samba and bossa nova, and it's and you can hear it like even there are like Indian Bollywood songs that have a bossa nova groove going on at the back. So,
Yeah.
um, because for me, for example, being from India, like it's almost like it's just in the air. Like I don't ever study, say, Indian music like on my own. Like there are some things that I innately absorb. So how has that worked out for you in your music and like just being around samba or bossa nova, because it's also such a communal thing.
For sure. I can talk about my experience and then maybe Pedro can share his. I was actually a couple of days ago watching this video by this guy that went to Berkeley, and he has a YouTube channel, and I forgot his name, but it's a video about the girl from Ipanema. It's like a
Right.
30-minute video. Huh? Yes, that one. So and
Oh,
he talks about the girl from Ipanema and how many times it was played around the world, and that everybody has recorded it and it's everywhere, and it's much more complex than it sounds at a first sight, at a first listen. And for us, we imagine like you grow up listening to all the similar sisters of Girl from Ipanema all the time, because it's on
Right.
TV, it's in on the radio, it's in the parties. So it's really something. It's what Eshaan said, that it's a communal thing. It's something you learn from a cultural perspective. It also relates to feelings, to feeling connected to your family, feeling connected to your country. But also, it's really important to say that even though you grow up in that context and you go party in a roda de samba with your friends and have drinks while you listen to samba and have fun with your friends and on a Saturday night, it doesn't make you a specialist in it, right? Because
Yeah, of course.
I know that a lot of people grew up in that context, and then they feel like, and they just like they can just teach it or perform it with no actual responsibility to the roots of it, to the musical context, and etc. So I would like to make that small comment. But I think that the culture, the more you have access to cultural influences from your birth to your adult life, the better. I think the relationship you build with music in your childhood is very important, and in your community is very important. And I think
that's where our love for Brazilian music came, because not all Brazilians are in love with Brazilian music. That's also something important to say. We could have dedicated ourselves to other styles, but we are really passionate about it. I think because it was there from the beginning, and we
Yeah, yeah. I think
enjoy
it came to also it came to our music in a natural way, right? I think when you do the songs and they came with samba rhythm or baião rhythm, they all come naturally because those are the things that we have been listening since we are a child, like since we are really young. Like one story that I remember about Grow from Ipanema that's funny is that Grow from Ipanema actually was the first song I heard in India. Like when I arrived when I arrived in Mumbai for the first time, I was like really looking forward to listen for new music, and I was, oh man, what those guys listen here, I really want. And when I went to the elevator in the hotel, like it's like when the door
the doors
shuts,
close.
it starts to play Girl
Oh,
from
yeah.
Ipanema. And I thought, oh man, that's not so different from Brazil. Like, so the first music that I heard in India was Brazilian music, actually.
Yeah.
All right. What another thing that I've often wondered about is, so these are obviously very traditional forms of music. Is there also like a parallel, I don't know, Brazilian pop music industry where they're not so into, and how do these two different sort of leagues coexist? Is there, more following of people wanting to listen to traditional music, or how does it work?
MABP.
Ah,
Yes, MPB, yeah.
yeah.
It's so we have a very interesting scene right now with funk. It's not like 70s funk music. It's something else, but we call it funk. And it's a style from the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, and they started in the late 70s, beginning of the 80s. They started mixing electronic sounds and samples and stuff like that to create beats. And I think funky is one of the contemporary styles of Brazilian music that are most successful in the mainstream industry type of thing. We also have a very particular case of a style of music called sertanejo, which is from the interior of Brazil, where there's a lot of agriculture and cattle and stuff like that, and they have these very, very rich artists that are playing concerts in the whole country, and they are in the top hits of the
Yeah, and also in the Northeast we have Axé, which is also that's also related to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because all these forms of music, they are super pop oriented, like industry oriented, and it's entertainment industry, but they all come from traditional roots. So Axé in the Northeast, it's also something from the late 70s, 80s that throughout these years has been successful. And they come from the percussion. It's a rhythm that comes from the percussion ceremonies of African Brazilian religions, and everything has a background in this sort of traditional Brazilian, really Brazilian root. Also, funk is also influenced by these drum beats, and sertanejo is actually more of a type of singer-songwriter style, but they sing in duos, so it's always a dupla. It's always two people singing in thirds, mostly. And it talks about the country life, and it's like country music in Texas. I don't know, but it has our own flavor as well. I think in all areas of the Brazilian music industry, we are able to add our own thing to the
also
music.
in the southeast we have samba e pagode, which is also a huge scene. It's a big scene also.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I think something that's nice to point in this is that the difference between India and Brazil when we talk about traditional music. Like in India, we're talking usually about something that it's related to thousands of years. Sometimes, like the Indian classical music, it's something that has been built through long years. And when we talk about Brazilian traditional music, we're talking about something that has like 100 years. So it's pretty recent, the difference.
Yeah. Samba turned 100 years old like a couple of years ago. It was a huge thing. Oh, it's 100 years of samba. All right.
So
we made it.
So the meaning of traditional, there's a big difference between when we're talking about traditional music in India and in Brazil.
Very well said.
All right. Would like to play us another song?
Yeah, since we're talking about samba and bossa nova and all that.
Let's do something samba oriented.
All right. We'll do Monsigno, which is also a song I wrote. I think I'll play the guitar.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I'm actually playing a steel string guitar because Eshaan took my nylon string. And I haven't gotten a nylon string guitar ever again.
No,
I should, right? Yeah.
Innately Brazilian, I feel somehow.
Yeah. So this is for those of you watching us. Steel strings are not the original thing. Okay, we're more of a nylon string guitar folk.
But for today.
But for today, you'll bear with me. So let me just. Now valendo. All right.
Okay.
Nascendo pro mar, mansinho eu vi um dia de adivinhar e solto no ar pra se sentir. Vagava o gosto bom de amanhecer, em paz, doce prazer de descobrir face de um desejo que não se escondeu, que traduz num beijo mais feliz que eu, frase de um reduto de paixão, coração que nunca mais doeu. E se quiser pagar pra ver cores de uma tarde que eu já sei de cor, e a felicidade de um amor maior, fica aqui pra vida acontecer, é fazer valer e só, e só.
That was amazing. That makes me miss all the early morning ensembles when we did. Such beautiful pieces. And yeah, it really does. It's such a vibe to kind of walk into. And I remember, playing this sort of music. It's actually really close to my heart. Also, after you, Luiza, I think, just a semester after you left, we had an entire, except for one, an entire team of teachers from Brazil. And it was so interesting because I had gotten a head start with you, and I, fell so much in love with it, and I wanted to do more, and I was able to explore that even more. And in fact, fun story, because it sort of generated an interest, and I knew sort of what was happening, and I could understand. Recently, actually, because of the lockdown and everything, we've all turned to Netflix a little more than we did. And there is actually this show on Netflix. It's called Coisa Mas Linda. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I don't usually do dubbed shows. Like, it's a turn off for me. I like to watch something which is either in English or Hindi. But I've been hooked. I watched that, and have you seen it? It's I think set in 1960s, and it's about this girl who goes from Sao Paulo to Rio and opens her own music bossa nova club, and just the struggles with sexism and just racism, because there's also another Black woman involved, which was very new at the time. And I love that show. I love the music. I have been looking for the soundtrack like all over the place, and yeah, so it
That's
really has
amazing.
influenced my life in a big way. So yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think the show portrays in a very truthful way how things were when bossa nova happened, and the whole in Rio de Janeiro there was like clubs everywhere and people were performing a lot. The nightlife was really, really rich and amazing artists were playing, and there were also like jazz trios and things like that happening. And it was a very fruitful time, I think, for Brazilian music.
Yeah.
Also,
Thank you.
there's so much of our own music that Priyana and I write. I mean, it won't directly be like a Brazilian rhythm, but it's there. Especially, I feel if someone knows that this is a place we're coming from, like it's easy to join those dots, and like it really. I find like Brazilian music, especially like you said initially, like for at least for me and Priyana, like it seeps in easier somehow.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, in that place where it's gone past just being exposed to it, and it's entered that area where it begins to influence your musicianship and writing, and I love it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I wanna listen to those fusion things you're doing.
We will
Brazilian
definitely
Indian
work on that.
fusion. That's amazing.
All right, should we move along?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think let's talk about, since you guys perform as a duo so much, and Eshaan and I are also kind of in this similar space, and we're always, looking at other duos and borrowing ideas and inspirations and seeing what works, what doesn't work. So I think it's a good time to talk about, the writing process, how it works for you guys, and if there is a set way or not, or, if you want to talk about that.
One thing that me and Priyana especially kind of not struggle with, like rather enjoy doing is like pick a song and it's like a song played by a band, and then you have to condense it to sound full in a duo, and that's always a fun challenge with the arrangement process, and then that starts informing the way you write. So
Yeah, and how
Yeah,
you
for sure.
you would make add or remove elements to kind of fit a duo situation, as opposed to, if it were being played by a band, and to make it work and not sound empty or boring. Or so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. First, we are very lucky to be living together, so finding rehearsal time is easier. Usually, when we have a concert or we've been playing some YouTube live shows during the quarantine thing, and we just rehearse every day for that concert for like 10 days. And we just there's a different type of dedication when you are a duo, because it's easier to fit the schedules. I think for you guys as well, it's not as hard as a band to find a time to rehearse.
Absolutely.
It's more fluid and easy to do that. But regarding creating arrangements, we've been trying to have a balance in our repertoire of songs, of famous songs that we create our own arrangements and our own music. We don't usually write music together. We do have some songs we wrote, but in specific situations, but we do the composition in different moments. But I think we already started developing a way of creating. And usually the first days of arranging a song are really uncomfortable because we are trying to, it's not always that the song just fits the duo, you know? It's not always that, okay, this song is perfect, let's just do it. Sometimes there's a lot of work involved, and I feel this discomfort, but it's a good one, you know, like this friction of me trying to have an idea and then Pedro, I don't think that's the way we should go. And then he presents something new, and then I'm like, okay, so let's go there. And it's an intense negotiation. And I think that is different also from a band, because in a band, you already have expectations of who will do what. You know what to expect from a drummer, what to expect from a bass player. And with piano and guitar especially, that are harmonic and rhythmic instruments, we need to find the right voicings. So sometimes I'm playing this voicing on the guitar, and Pedro, we spend like a lot of time finding the right notes to fit on top of the voicing I'm already doing. And we try to be very careful with that, with the details. So since nothing is previously expected of either of us, we can deliver different things as well. So sometimes I come up with things on the loop with my voice, and sometimes it doesn't work, and I try really hard to make it work and it doesn't work. So there's also this moment when you need to look at the music and see, this is not working, let's go another way. And I also think, just to finish and let Pedro speak, I also think that recording our rehearsals is very important, and listening back to it. It's something we've been doing since the very beginning of the duo. We rehearse, then we listen to it, we rehearse to a click, we listen to the recording, we try different things. We're always in a self-assessment process, you know.
Yeah, I think you said pretty much everything. But what I could add is just that sometimes we just play a lot, go through the same songs like for a long time, playing and trying different things, and through this process ideas comes, and after some time you just pick the ones that you like it more, like and then you decide, okay, this is an arrangement like this. Oh, this worked so well, this idea that comes just through the playing itself, like so sometimes there are different processes that can happen, and one of them is just to play a lot together.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how is
I
it for
think
you guys? How has it been to be? Are there a lot of duos in your musical context? How is it working for you guys as also performing artists, and the daily life of that?
I mean, I feel there are two kind of duos. One is the kind of duo that's just born out of the fact that there is a gig that can only pay for a duo. So it's a player or a key
totally.
to accompany them. But in terms of there being duos that are acts as duos, there aren't actually, like, there are a few. I won't say there aren't any, but like especially like acoustic music, like not electronica duos, like not DJs or electronic artists who primarily use electronic means to make music. I would say there aren't that many, at least not in our circle of peer musicians and stuff. And for us, it's kind of similar. Usually, I come up with an idea, like the beginning of a song, usually like just a verse and a chorus, and I'll have some lyrics or I'll have a melody, and then I just throw that onto Priyana. Then she does something with it, and then it's a little back and forth between. I'm like, I don't really feel that the song's going this way. Maybe it should go a different way, or like I'll come up with some weird groove and like it'll have too many syllables in the melody, so she'll have to add or like find like a creative way to adjust the rhythm. So initially, I used to do most of the writing, but this new way is way more fun because it also songs a little more our songs than my songs or her songs. So for us, I think that has been nice. And yeah, so that's
Yeah, and like you guys said, with playing and performing together, uh, there is, I think it's very important to develop that comfort level, and you can almost anticipate what your partner is about to, whether or not they like something or what they might do, or especially with Eshaan and I, because communication for us is purely based on, when we're playing, it's purely based on listening to each other, and those are our only cues as such. So it really kind of makes us focus more on the music and the playing part of it, and yeah, just kind of feel what might work and what might not work.
basically I get to avoid all the death stares when I bring the end.
Yeah, how I wish I could get him to feel that, but I think he does sometimes.
But it's also I always like I go back to the beginning of our talk when Eshaan was saying that we would talk about music and life, because two things are always together, right? And with I know that you have an important friendship going on between you two, to be able to have a duo as well, because if you are in a band setting and there's a musical director that just hands out the charts and everybody just has to do their own thing, you don't really have to be friends with the other people playing with you, right? It can be a strictly professional situation and still sound awesome,
Right.
because the musicians are capable and because the music is well written, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a friendship, or but when you are in such a small setting, and you have to show yourself to that other person as well, because you have to be able to accept criticism and to give feedback in a positive way, and understand the limits of the other person, and really listen. And it's really interesting that Priyana said that for you guys, it's all about listening, right? And I think despite, I don't know, crazy eyes you can give to the pianist, it's also about listening all the time. And I think it's a very important lesson. And also that different, I would like to highlight what Eshaan said, the difference between being an actual duo and just playing a gig where the piano player is comping your tunes, and
Yeah.
it's really different, and it requires also a balance for both musicians to be comfortable and to feel represented by that work.
Yeah, and also for us, there's one lesser element, like we don't have Pedro playing piano with us. Uh, it's like for us, more than thinking of what can we add to this, we're always thinking like, okay, what can we take away from this, so that so that when the little things that we have to add make a bigger impact. So it's a little more Actually, that's how we started because we just wanted to play like stripped down versions of songs. So yeah.
Nice. So, shall we finish this with a quartet?
Yeah.
Yes,
What do you guys think?
What are we?
absolutely.
Okay. So, what are we playing?
What are we playing?
What do we
What are we
say?
playing? We're playing. I suggest we play O Trem Azul, which is a song by Lo Borges,
Yeah.
and it's a song that it's from a movement in Brazilian music called Clube da Esquina. They are from a state called Minas. It's a state where there's no beach, only mountains. And when you think of Brazil, you usually picture a white sand beach.
Right.
And that state is very particular. And those musicians were super influenced by the Beatles. And they, like I said in the other moments, that Brazilian musicians are able to make anything sound more Brazilian. This song is like a singer-songwriter song, but it has a twist, I think. And I really like that. And I like the harmonies that are also they have a little touch of bossa nova with the tensions and the way the chords are played, and I think we should do that. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay.
Coisas que a gente se esquece de dizer, frases que o vento vem às vezes me lembrar,
coisas que ficaram muito tempo por dizer. Na canção do vento não se cansam de voar.
Você pega o trem azul, o sol na cabeça, o sol pega o trem azul, você na cabeça, o sol na cabeça. Coisas que a gente se esquece de dizer, frases que o vento vem às vezes me lembrar, coisas que ficaram muito tempo por dizer. Na canção do vento não se cansam de voar. Você pega o trem azul, o sol na cabeça, o sol pega o trem azul, você na cabeça, o sol na cabeça. Você pega o trem azul, o sol na cabeça, o sol pega o trem azul, você